Welcome to Recalibrate. This is a podcast of Caribou Road Christian Fellowship. Our hope is to create a moment where you get to take a look at your life through the lens of Christ's teaching and recalibrate.
Well, welcome back. It's great to be back at Recalibrate and continuing with our sessions. So, today is going to be an exciting day. We're going to look at some of the practical ways that we can get control over our mind.
Yeah, this should be really helpful for people. I think we've done a good job of going through what is mindfulness, how can we use mindfulness even as believers, and now to give some practical tools for people.
I think one of the things I'd like to say straight up the bat is that mindfulness is different from meditation.
Right.
Okay. And I think that's really important to understand because people get nervous, but they're not the same, particularly the clinical approach. Mm-hmm. And yes, there are mindfulness techniques that do involve meditation, but I don't think you have to go anywhere near there to do what we're going to be talking about today.
Sure.
Okay. So let's do an exercise.
Sure.
Okay. So the simplest exercise that people talk about with mindfulness is breathing. Now already everybody's freaking out, like, oh no, sure.
Some people turned us off already.
Turned us off already and on their computer right away. Just bear with me a little minute. You're going to find out that this is not Eastern theology. First of all, because we have to recognize that we are physiological beings.
Right.
And so how we feel physically does affect our mental state and even potentially our spiritual state, right?
Yeah.
If you're exhausted, you are very vulnerable mentally and you're very vulnerable spiritually.
Yeah.
Elijah discovered that after he was exhausted. He wanted to commit suicide.
Yeah, my wife always reminds me of that. Just have something to eat.
Just have something to eat and have a sleep.
Have a nap.
Have a nap and you're going to feel a lot better. So we are physiological beings. And I think in Christianity, we often see the body as evil, but that is not the biblical mindset. Mm-hmm. Yes, we have sin within us, the residue of sin. And so therefore we will not be free from it until we have a resurrected body.
Right.
But the body was made by God and he declared it is good. Mm-hmm. So we are a tripart being, or if you follow that view, or if you're of the view of just a two-part being. But nevertheless, the body is really intrinsically part of that. So I think in Christianity, we over-spiritualize it and make it all super spiritual and ignore the physical part of our spirituality.
Sure.
So that's a long introduction.
Yeah, but you're saying that a lot of it has to do with actually we can control our bodies as a tool to even control our minds.
We have to be aware that there is an interconnectedness and one can be a gateway or a tool.
Right.
But that's not even really what we're talking about when I'm going to talk about breathing. So let's do it, shall we?
Sure.
Yeah. We had a big joke before because they were trying to adjust my microphone.
Yeah, because you could really hear your breathing.
I could hear my breathing without even trying.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to do this, and now you are going to hear my breathing. Now, there are many, you can get really deep into this concept of what is the proper way to breathe. My wife is a music teacher. She went to university in England for music.
Right.
And there's a proper way to breathe when you're playing an instrument or when you're singing. I never got the hang of it. No. So I am not a breathing expert.
It is very deep breathing, though.
Yeah, and it's kind of opposite to what you normally do. I think you breathe out when you should be breathing in or something crazy like that.
We're not musical.
I'm not going anywhere near any of that. I'm just simply saying, what I'm going to do right now, Mike's here to watch me and make sure I do it. But I don't even close my eyes because that's not that kind of meditation. Mm-hmm. All I'm doing is right now my thoughts are everywhere, all over the place. Well, not necessarily, but I focus on this. But, that's what I'm on.
Sure.
All I want to do is to get my mind focused on one thing for an extended period of time so that all the other thoughts slow down and stop. I just want my mind to become focused, to become not running all over the place, right? So let's say you are in a situation where you've been in a very stressful meeting and you leave the meeting and your mind is going crazy, you're not enjoying the thoughts and you want to get it under control. You want to hear the Spirit of God. How do you get the mind under control?
Right.
Breathing is a way, but it's not the breathing that I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that by focusing on the sensation of breathing, it's about the mind focusing. It's just you've got a tool around you, something that you can focus on that takes your mind off everything else and then gets the mind focused and clear and still. And then you're going to be able to hear God. You're going to be able to hear the Spirit. You're going to be able to hear the Scripture. How do you get your mind down? So breathing is one of the ways to do that, because we're all breathing, so it's with you the whole time. You don't have to go.
We hope we're all breathing.
You don't look for an easy. You don't have to look for an app. You don't have to look for anything.
Right.
It's right there. So all you simply do is you can. I leave my eyes open. I don't even. But I'm doing it, so it's going to be awkward. We're on podcast. You can't see me, so you have to trust me. I'm just breathing in and out, and I'm just focusing my mind. I'm telling my mind, focus on the feeling of your chest rising and falling, your lungs and filling in the air and going out. It's not deep, even elongated breathing. And all I do is I just keep telling my mind goes off with this thought and it goes off that thought. No, come back, focus on the breathing.
Right.
And then when I begin to do it over a period of time, maybe initially I can only do it for 5 seconds and my thoughts are already gone somewhere else.
Right.
And then I keep doing it. Then I can do it for 10. Then I can for 20. Then I can do a whole minute of just getting my mind to focus on that. Okay, so you notice meditation is actually about the breathing. The focus is on the actual breathing, right? And it's about the breathing as a means of making connection with a higher plane. Not into any of that.
Right.
We're just simply using this as a way of having something to focus on. Like the scripture says, focus on the word of the Lord. But that's not always easy to do in certain situations, right? This is just a very simple way of, it's when they used to give people brown paper bags.
Oh, you had to breathe into.
Yeah. Because it was something to focus. It got their mind off what they were
you
doing.
Inflate the bag and.
And then they see it go in and the thing goes in. It's not. There's nothing there. There's nothing in the bag to change.
No, it's not. Yeah.
Paper bags do not stop panic attacks.
Yeah.
It's the focus, right? It's like get your mind off where you are and get your mind onto this, right? And so because breathing is so natural to us and because it is something where we become a little bit more of our own physical being, it's just simply a matter of, and now I'm going to do it a little bit longer, I just go, okay, there was a deathly silence, but I just did a few there, breaths, and my mind was just focused on being very aware of the in and out. And my mind just calms down and is focused. Okay. What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
Well, I was just reminded actually of last week in the office, and I did a big long sigh. And then Barbara Druin reminded me, it's 7 seconds, Mike. It's 7 seconds that you're supposed to breathe out. But that's actually a practice that I've heard before, is to focus on the counting.
Yes, you do.
Right? So you count down from 10 and you do a nice long breath, but you're focusing on the counting and the slowing down.
Yeah.
But it's the same principle that you're talking about.
It is. And again, I want to make sure people understand, I am not promoting any form of meditation here. This is simply getting your mind under control.
Right.
This is simply having a technique to stop your mind going 1 trillion miles a minute. There's many other ways to do this. I want to talk about some other ways that are not even in the books about this. If you go for a walk by yourself, I have found when I go for a walk by myself outside for 30 minutes and I get into a good rhythm.
Right.
And I focus on my footsteps. I stop my mind thinking about all the problems of life.
Yeah.
I'm actually literally moving my feet right now just to kind of accentuate the point. That's pointless. But I focus, I just get the rhythm going. I feel my heartbeat and I feel the rhythm on my feet. And I'm getting control over my mind. I don't want you thinking about all the problems right now.
Yeah.
I just want you focusing on the steps and the rhythm and the heartbeat and just kind of coming in. When I do that, and I can do that for a sustained period of time, like a minute or 2 minutes, I then find when I begin to focus on my problems again, I am so much more able to hear the Spirit of God.
Right. Yeah, I've actually practiced something similar to that, not with walking, but just with laying down, and then you actually just focus on relaxing each part of your body.
Okay, that's actually officially another technique.
Yeah,
okay.
so then you would just go through and you'd be like, okay, actually each part of my body is holding tension. So relaxing your hands and working your way up, actually taking a minute to focus on each part of your body and relaxing.
And you think that what's happening is it's because you're focusing on those parts of the body you become relaxed, and there's a truth to that.
Mm-hmm.
But actually a huge part of it is the actual exercise of focusing.
Right. Yeah, you're calming your mind.
I mean, another way you might experience this is when you read a book.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you have to be careful about what book you read. Fiction doesn't do it. And studies show that reading digitally, particularly short stories or Instagram or whatever, that doesn't count.
Right. Okay.
It's negative. It actually gets your mind into hyperdrive.
Yeah.
It doesn't bring it down. But reading a good book, I mean, it could be a novel if it was well written and engaging at a higher level.
Yeah.
You know, one of the reasons why, and I'm going to come back to this, the Jewish people, they're called the people of the book, the Jewish and the Hebrews and the Christians, but particularly the Jews. One of the reasons I believe they excelled is because they were people of a book, and they meditated upon the word day and night.
Right.
And in that process, they disciplined the mind.
Right. Interesting.
Okay?
Yeah.
Like our young people these days don't read.
No.
And oh my gosh, I almost want to cry when I talk about this. They have lost the ability to keep their minds.
They can't focus on
They
the book.
can't focus.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Mike, they can't focus. The mind is scrambled eggs. It's not got any sense of discipline to it.
Right.
You look at young children today and the way that parents are raising them, and you see a lot of children can't survive without some kind of digital gadget, which in effect, it doesn't help their concentration. It worsens it, right? Instead of being able to sit down and read a book for an hour.
Right.
And just stay focused on it and keep reading it word for word.
Yeah.
It's a calming and a discipline of the mind to get the mind to stay on track.
Yeah, I have had that experience, especially if you're reading a book that is very slowly paced.
Yeah.
Maybe even with a lot of description, a lot of describing the scenery and things like that. You really begin to calm down and you begin to focus on what you're just reading in that moment.
And it clears the mind.
Yeah,
it settles the mind. And then when you come out of it, as Paul says, he's not giving you a spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. That's the idea that now your mind is disciplined and you can tell your mind what to think about. So for me, when I do the breathing in the morning, I wake up in the morning, I got a lot of thoughts from the day before, even when I wake up.
Right.
So I sit there, I have the word of the Lord there, I have my journal potentially there, but I just start to focus. It's not the breathing. Okay, this is not meditation. I just use the breathing as a way to get my mind to focus and to concentrate. And then when I find myself being able to gather my thoughts and just focus on it for a few, for 30, 40 seconds, okay, now I've really got control of my mind, I turn my mind to prayer. And immediately my prayer life is so different because I'm not finding it hard to stay focused on what I'm praying. And I'm able to talk because my mind has now become the tool that's under control and is so alert, aware. Remember, mindfulness is to make you aware of things around you. Yeah. I'm so aware of God. I'm so aware of His voice. I'm so aware of my prayers. And I have found that as I get better at this, I can be in stressful situations, can take a few moments just to kind of calm down, focus on my breathing, get my mind under control, and then I can evaluate what just happened, evaluate why am I feeling stressed, and begin to talk to the Lord about it.
Yeah, I've had last week a similar experience actually going into prayer, like what you're talking about, and I actually noticed like I'm just worked up, my thoughts are everywhere, and I just prayed, God, help me to just focus so that I can pray. And I took a few moments to just stand in the room and do some deep breaths, and then got things done praying. Like I just was able to focus on praying and had a really beautiful time of prayer. But it's when, like you're saying, when you can take your mind under control. Yeah.
And so I'd encourage a lot of us out there listening. I think that You know, a lot of the things we're thinking about are good things. You know, I'm not saying they're negative. We're thinking about our family.
Yeah.
We're thinking about finances. We're thinking about our work. We're thinking about this and that. But ultimately, that can also just be, even the good can be negative.
Yeah.
It can just overwhelm you, and it can cause you to live a life where you're not actually engaged with God or with the Spirit, because your mind is cluttered, and your mind is a key part of hearing the Spirit of God. And so we need to be able to, so let's, now there's more techniques, and some of them I think, because of the secular world, then they start to move more towards the Eastern.
Right.
And we're not going anywhere near that. But I do think that the idea of calming the mind is a biblical concept. We see it with the Jewish people.
Yeah.
We see it with the instructions in Scripture. And I think if we do have some tools in life that we can go to quickly to help calm the mind, and that we can quickly get to in a very practical way, because sometimes we need to calm our minds. That's why they found this to be very good for health. So with young children, with people with things, breathe, focus on the breathing. Yeah. You see that in movies sometimes, but actually it's used in real life. It's not about the breathing, it's about the focusing on the breathing. Yeah. Right. And if you've got another place that you can focus, so be it. But it's about getting the mind under control, so that now you can look objectively at your own thoughts and choose what you think about, and choose your thoughts to be godly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are really helpful tools, for everyday life.
For everyday life.
That you can bring everywhere you go.
And I think that when we do it, I think that there's potential for a tremendous spiritual growth, because we're able to walk with it. I think Jesus was always present with the Father.
Right.
I think he lived aware of the Father.
Yeah.
And his mind was very much a tool used by his Spirit to live the Christian life. Excellent. Thank you. I think that'll probably be the last one for this series.
Yeah.
this little mini series we did
great.
in the middle of it. And I trust it's been a blessing to you. Yeah. The Lord be with you all.
We want to thank you for joining us on Recalibrate today. For more information, please check out our website at crcfchurch.com.